All right, so like Claudia said, my name is Mike Marsiglia. I'm the co-CEO at Atomic Object. I co-manage Atomic with my partner, Sean Crowley. And today I'm going to share about an employee education class that we've developed and run for the past 10 years that we call the Econ of AO. I'm going to discuss the opportunity, share the outline for our class and a couple of the specifics. And I'm also going to discuss the impact that we've experienced from doing the class. So before we get too deep, I'm a big believer in the acronym SWIPE. SWIPE stands for Steal with Integrity and Pride from Everywhere. So if you like something I share today, please feel free to swipe it. So before I dig into the details of the Econ of AO class, I'm going to share just a little bit more about Atomic Object to give some context. So what the heck is Atomic Object? For those of you who don't know, we're a design and development consultancy that has offices in Grand Rapids, Ann Arbor, and Chicago. We sell our time and expertise. So billable hours and strong utilization are important business drivers to us, much the same to a lot of the other service companies that are part of this organization. We've been around since 2001. We just celebrated our 20th year in business on August 6th. So that was pretty cool. And we're 100% employee owned and a certified B Corp like Claudia had mentioned. So we build products that are primarily on the revenue side of our clients' P&L statements, but we also occasionally build products that enhance internal efficiencies for our clients. Here's a couple examples. We develop products for large clients like Delta Airlines to help track catering inventory with suppliers to ensure flights have the right supplies. We also help smaller organizations like Art Prize and the 500,000 art voters that come to Grand Rapids every year to find what they're looking for and participate in the event by voting. We also write firmware and software for mid-sized companies like Microline that inspect pipelines for microfractures. This device on the left here is called a PIG, and it's designed to find microfractures in a pipeline. Basically, it goes into an oil or gas pipeline. It's propelled down the pipeline by the oil or gas. It travels at about 30 miles an hour, and it's looking for microfractures in the pipeline. They fish it out the other end, and we can help them figure out how to repair those pipelines. We have 80 employees working in our offices. Here's a picture of our team from April 2019. At Atomic, we call our employees atoms. If you've taken chemistry or physics, you can pick up on a theme here. We use it quite a bit on different things. We call our parties spin downs. Our monthly newsletter is the nucleus. We joke that we like to try and avoid meltdowns. And in addition to being, pun masters, we're also a purpose-driven organization. So Atomic's purpose is to be both a source and a force. So a source of fulfillment for our atoms and a force for good for our clients and our communities. Part of being a source of fulfillment for our atoms is living our values and acting transparently and teaching and learning. And the Econ of AO is one way that we can do that. It's just another way we can provide education and well-being to our team. So with that out of the way, let's talk a little bit about the Econ of AO. It's basically what it is it's a 2.5-hour class that's intended to educate atoms on basic finance and accounting terms, the financial dynamics of our business, and provide a framework for financially evaluating decisions. Atomic's founder, Carl Erickson, created the class to address 3 key opportunities, which are still true today. The first is education is the core of open books management. So open books management or OBM companies share financial information broadly with their team. At Atomic, we've been an OBM company for nearly all of our 20 years of existence. Open books management is really built on the assumption that the further out in the company you can make decisions, the better results you get. We're a software company, so we like to describe this to people as a distributed system is superior to a centralized one for decision making. So we really want to educate everyone in the organization. We feel that atoms should know and understand the economics of the company and specifically understand how they can contribute to or hurt them. Second, without education, what we've noticed is people tend to fill in gaps of ignorance in incorrect ways. I'm sure you've all experienced this in different parts of your business before. And in my experience, I found that the best way to combat gaps of ignorance, especially with really, really smart people, is through transparent and honest education. Third, We have both broad employee ownership and flat profit sharing at Atomic. Of our 80 atoms, 44 of us, so over half of us, own shares of the company. And our system would be much more challenging if we weren't open books. So that's the why. So let's talk more about the class. The class was designed for new employees. We offer it every year or so folks have the opportunity to participate roughly in their first 12 months of being in the company. And we also make it optional for other interested atoms to repeat the course, which we'll see a couple folks repeat the course every year. People want to come back and refresh on it. The goals of the class are pretty simple. First, we want to provide a common language for us to talk about the economics of the company. Like anything, like half the battle with communicating is using consistent words. So making sure we're all saying the same words for the same things is really important. Second, we want people to better understand the financial aspects of the business. We hire and employ really smart people, and shining a light on how the business works is super valuable, and it leads to lots of other interesting ideas from those really smart people. Third, we provide tools to help with decision making. So during the class, we provide a lot of conceptual models, but we also provide real marketing and sales data and a financial model of the entire company wrapped in a spreadsheet. That tool allows atoms to play what-if games, and I'll touch on that a little more later. Fourth, sharing the history and why behind our business model. And this is personally my favorite part of the class. So we teach the class based on a set agenda, but I love to let it spider into other tangential questions. So what I found is atoms are really hungry to understand why we do things in certain ways, even more so than like the mechanical, like how we do it. And the class ends up being a great venue to openly engage in those questions. So when Claudia named this presentation, or Claudia and Tom and Dave named the presentation, money isn't a dirty word. I find one of our major goals of the econ of AO is to help folks understand that profitability isn't a dirty word. I think sometimes popular culture wants us to believe that. We're seeing more and more of that. And as business leaders and owners, we know that profitability isn't just about making shareholders rich. Profitability enables us to do cool things with the team and our communities. COVID also clearly taught us that it's also our buffer to protect the company and other people's jobs. So not only is profitability not a dirty word, it's vital to our survival. Tactically, the agenda for the class is quite straightforward. We break the class down into 6 key topics. The first is terminology. During this section, we discuss basic financial, accounting, and atomic-specific terms. Next, we discuss money. This section includes education about the cost of projects, the amount of revenue that an atom can generate, revenue sources, and cash flow. During this section, we describe the economic realities at play, but also open up the conversation to learn how those realities make people feel. And I found this extremely interesting to do. So for example, we'll talk to people about how the work we do is very expensive. We're very lucky in technology that the market allows us to charge high rates for what we do. And we'll ask people, how does that make them feel? And this question I found really gets folks on the team to open up. I'll hear answers that range from, well, it makes me feel really valuable, to it makes me worry that I can't deliver that amount of value. And these are great opportunities to really dig in and discuss and talk about some of the broader dynamics at play. Next, we'll talk about the financial dynamics of the company. During this section, we'll discuss the implications of selling our time and expertise. We'll also talk about marginal cost and profitability and why billable hours matter. We'll briefly touch on KPIs or key performance indicators. Then we'll discuss the 3 major financial statements. During this section, we'll give a high-level overview of why each of those statements is valuable. And then we'll collaboratively review recent statements from Atomic with the team. Finally, we'll share a spreadsheet that models our entire company. So the spreadsheet is really a series of inputs that power a profit and loss statement, a future-facing profit and loss statement. And the spreadsheet uses consolidated but real salary data and real expenses. It brings our benefits and historical rates and utilizations into play. You can really think of this spreadsheet as a big calculator that can predict our company's future profitability. So using the spreadsheet, we'll ask the people in the class to pair up and answer some what if questions. So some of those might include, what if we hired 4 new designers so we never missed design demand, but it reduced our design utilization by 15%? What if we added 4 more developers to the team? What if we decided to only work on internal projects on Fridays? What would happen? If a global pandemic hits and 8 people end up on the bench, what will happen to our margin? During these conversations, we're really careful to reinforce that the financial lens is only one part of a decision, but it's an important part, and understanding the dynamic does help people better focus and reframe ideas. So here's a real example of how this education I think has been wonderful. So we hold an all company conference called Atomicon every year and a half. The picture I showed earlier was from the last time we held an Atomicon. We had to cancel because of COVID, but we're currently planning another Atomicon for the later half of 2022. I'm really looking forward to it. So at Atomic, we have a unique model where we pay everyone hourly. So Atoms know from the economics of AO that missing billable hours is very expensive. So Jesse Hill, one of our Atoms who thought of the idea for Atomicon, understood these dynamics. And instead of pitching a Thursday afternoon, Friday conference, he pitched a Friday afternoon, Saturday conference. So when we do this conference, Atomic spends a bunch of money on hotels, venue, we pay everyone for Saturday, but we only lose a half a day of billable time per Atom instead of 1.5 days of billable time per Atom. So if you pull that across a team of 60 plus billable technical people, that cost difference is massive just by shifting the when. And that makes it a lot easier and more responsible for people to say yes to a really cool idea. With my remaining time today, I wanted to do a deep dive into a couple of the sections in greater detail so you can get a feel for what they're like. Teaching about cash flow is one of the topics I've always found to be enlightening for people. And we do that by drawing out a simple example. So this is a very simple example. We'll discuss a set of good terms. So let's say we invoice every other week and we get paid net 30. For simplicity, let's assume the client pays us on time and at the end of the term. So we'll take people through a little series where, week 1, the team does some work. Week 2, the team does some more work. We pay people every other week. So we pay the team and we send the first invoice to the client. Week 3, we do some more work. Week 4, we do some more work. We pay the team a second time and we send the second invoice to the client. Week 5, we do some work. Week 6, we do some work. We pay the team again. So we paid the team 3 times now. We send our third invoice and we get paid on the first invoice. So, in this series, the project has just started. So we're, at week 6, we're finally getting our first cash back, even though we've had some cash outflows. Maybe we can take this on further. Week 7, we do some work. Week 8, we do some work. We pay the team. We get the fourth invoice. We get paid on the second invoice. So you can see how the cash flow is starting to catch back up with the project. So after we'll walk the team through an example like this, it allows us to have a really open conversation around questions like, okay, what's the impact of this cycle, right? What happens to cash flow when you hire a bunch of people at the same time? What kind of payment terms are good for Atomic? What terms are good for our clients? How do we protect the company against cash flow challenges? How is our size at 80 people a competitive advantage for cash flow? Once again, we employ really smart people. They get it. Like these questions, like seeing a model like this and then hearing these questions, it just really gets them thinking because they haven't considered this before in many cases. And these conversations help them think critically about the business. During another part of the class, we'll share real historical sales data. The data will look kind of like this, right? So this is real data from Atomic for the past few years. The top chart shows the amount of revenue we did from new and existing clients by year. The bottom chart shows revenue we made from our top 5 clients and then all of our other clients in a given year. In the second chart, I replaced the client names with numbers. The numbers in the graph, I know are hard to see. I apologize for that. But they're changing every year. So, however, some stay consistent. For example, client number 1 was a top 5 client in all 4 years shown. So after sharing this and other data, we'll give the team a little bit of time to kind of comprehend the reports, and then we'll have an open-ended conversation about their observations. I'm sure you're all coming up with your own observations right now about Atomic and my own design skills, being able to put together the slide after looking at this. But just like cash flow, we'll present the content, and then we'll challenge the team to engage. So what is this class meant to people? I've run this class for many years now, and these are my observations on the impact. I haven't heard anyone who hasn't enjoyed the class. That's one thing I want to make this an enjoyable, fun time. I want to make it an open, collaborative, open conversation. A small amount of atoms have really gotten into the numbers and figures. They'll ask me a lot of follow-up questions and are personally interested in learning more and digging deeper. But most atoms simply just express appreciation that someone else is worrying about these details and making sure their job is safe. I've found from more experienced new hires, like we have like a more experienced lateral hire, they'll commonly follow up with me and personally thank us for the openness. We found that this level of systematic transparency with finances is pretty unique. When I was asked to do this talk, I shamelessly asked our team for quotes about what the econ of AO meant to them, and this is one I got from a senior atom. I was really impressed with the econ of AO class. It gives all atoms an easy financial model to understand the levers of our business, to see how their work and choices directly impact the success or failure of the company. This type of learning, transparency, and sharing is indicative of the values of Atomic looks to promote on our journey to be great, not big. Quotes like this make me feel like the effort is well worth it, and it is a fair amount of effort to put all of this together, to organize the class, to do it. And I also recognize, like, we've been doing this a long time at Atomic, and it's been an iterative process. Like, we've enhanced it over 10 years. So like looking at it from the outside, be like, wow, that's a lot. But I do think if open books management or financial education interests you, there are ways to start going down this path with your team without taking it nearly as far as we have. And I wanted to close with a few examples. On the knowledge front, you can read The Great Game of Business by Jack Stack. Jack is considered the founder of open books management. So this is a really, really great book to read. On the more practical front, you can pick a single topic of interest, like cash flow, finance terminology, or financial statements, and hold a lunch and learn with a few team members. You could take some business data you already collect, like marketing, sales, hiring metrics, well, whatever you can think of, share it with some non-business team members, and instead of telling them what you think it means, ask them about the insights they have about it. The goal is to get their smart brains engaged in the problem. A final simple example is to share your business dynamics with the group, with a select group on your team, and ask them what these dynamics imply. And this is something that you could do over grabbing some beers with some folks after work one day. So, for example, at Atomic, we sell our time and expertise. That's our business dynamic. So, like, what does this dynamic imply, right? And I think if you did that for your company, you'd be surprised at how many smart folks that you're talking to will have not thought about had not thought about this before, and it'll start to help them connect the dots around why the company behaves in certain ways. And with that, I'm happy to discuss and answer any questions folks have.